Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast with Phil Graham. We help you master Facebook ads and give you an unfair advantage over your competition. Are you ready? Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast, episode 434. I'm Phil Graham. Today, we're going to be talking about Facebook lead ads versus landing pages. Which is best? One of the most common questions I get asked from clients and from listeners of this podcast is, should I use lead ads or should I send people to my website and to my landing pages? And really, the answer is not just like one thing for everyone. There's a lot of variables. So today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to break down the pros and cons of each one and talk about what I see working best here in mid-2025 and what I think you guys should do as well. So I'm glad you guys are here. Welcome to September, my friends. I cannot believe it. We are here. Football season is back. The Seahawks have their first game against the 49ers this coming Sunday. I love this time of year. And Labor Day was yesterday. That was the unofficial end of summer and start of fall, even though technically it's still a couple weeks. But hey, it's a great time of year. And so I hope you guys are doing great. Before we jump into the content, I just wanted to briefly mention, if you guys are wanting some help with your ads, with your marketing, even how to use AI properly in your business, because there's a lot of bad information out there about that too. For any of those things, you can go to my website, philgrahamdigital.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital. There's really two main options. Either A, I can run ads for you and do that for you, or B, I can coach and consult you personally and teach you how to do it yourself and try and get you to a really high level. So check it out, philgrahamdigital.com. I would love to connect with you. So let's jump right in and make this episode short, sweet, full of value, and very actionable. What are lead ads? What are landing pages? I think most of you guys know about this, so I'll just take like 20 seconds to describe it just in case. But a lead ad takes place on Facebook or Instagram, where the actual form that your potential customers or clients or leads can fill out is right on Facebook and Instagram. They don't even need to go to your website to become a lead. And then obviously landing pages are external. They're on your website or third-party platform like lead pages, ClickFunnels, etc. And that's something that's off of Facebook or Instagram. So I think most people already know all that stuff, but just in case, I wanted to briefly mention that. So I want to talk about the pros and cons of both, and then what I see working best here in 2025. So let's talk about lead ads first. What are the pros of lead ads? I think the number one best pro by far is that they are super easy and there's really no friction at all. So when somebody sees your ad, they can not even fill out the form. Their email is already pre-filled out for them in most cases. So really, they're just clicking a button a couple times and they become a lead. They're not having to go off of Facebook or Instagram. It's so quick and it's so easy. There's literally no friction. Another pro to that could also be, it's not always the case, but a lot of times you get a cheaper cost per lead when people become a lead from a lead ad. So it could potentially be less expensive in terms of cost per lead. Now, there are obviously some cons as well. So one of the bigger cons that I see happening way more often than not is what I would call crappy leads, bad leads, low user intent, because they didn't have to do much to become a lead. They just clicked a couple buttons and they're a lead. And it can also be harder to actually even reach these people. I've had plenty of situations where somebody has come to me for consulting, for example, and I take a look at their account and they were getting lots of leads for a good cost, but they were low quality leads. And they would try and contact them and people would even say, I didn't sign up for this. What are you contacting me for? Like they literally couldn't remember doing it because it was so easy to become a lead. And so that can be common. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes lead ads are awesome, but other times they're not. And when they're not, you've got to adjust and you've got to do something different, that's where landing page ads could come in. Let's talk about landing pages. So, the pros of that: when people go to your landing page, they have to do more work to become a lead. They have to leave Facebook or Instagram, go to your website, go to your landing page, and actually put their info in and click a button. It's a much higher intent situation. Also, it's a little bit easier to add anything like a qualifier. Like if you want to make sure that they are qualified as a lead and you want to try and keep people who are not qualified from becoming one, you can do some cool things much easier on your website. Some of that stuff can be done through lead ads too, but it's just easier on your website to try and filter out people that may not be right for you. So those are some really good pros for landing pages. I would say the cons, though, I would say that the biggest con is that it can just typically be more expensive than a lead ad, but that might actually not even be a con in many situations. The other biggest con I would say is if you've got a slow loading page, you're going to be screwed. You cannot have a website or a landing page that loads slow, because you could have the best stuff in the world on that page, but if it loads slow, people aren't going to see it and they're just going to leave. If that's the case, if your website is horrible, if it's loading slow, if it doesn't show up great on mobile, you better fix it and you better fix it fast. But in the meantime, focus on lead ads until you get that fixed, because that is a huge con if you're sending people to your website. But you got to make sure that's fixed. Okay, now that we've covered the pros and cons, let's talk about what I see working best here in 2025 as we kind of approach the end part of the year. And then I'll recommend something that I think is going to be a great thing for most advertisers. So, what is working best here in 2025? Let me start off by saying there are variables, there's plenty of exceptions too, but I see tons of data. So I think this is going to apply to a lot of different advertisers. So this should be pretty on point. But obviously your mileage may vary. You want to check your own data, etc. I see lead ads typically doing pretty well when there's like a low ticket kind of offer or something really simple. Like if you got a lead magnet, like a PDF or a free trial, something like that, where they're not scheduling a call necessarily, but they might just be opting in for a download. Lead ads have typically been working pretty well for that kind of thing. Now, landing pages I see working better either for high ticket offers or B2B stuff, or also like if you're wanting to schedule calls or you really need more info to see if somebody even qualifies for your product or service. I see landing pages typically working better for that. Another thing I really like to do, like with a landing page, we've got like an AI powered quiz funnel that is super smart. And the way it's set up, like you just could not do something like that with a lead ad. And that's another, I guess I should have put that in the pros of the landing pages, but that's working well also when it comes to landing pages. So in terms of what I recommend for most advertisers right now, without knowing you personally, obviously, if I was running your ads or consulting you, I could tell you exactly what I would recommend for your situation, but without knowing everything about you, here's a general rule of thumb for right now. If you're just looking for quantity, then go with lead ads. If you want quality, and that's really most important to you, go with landing page leads. And really the best thing to try is to do both, because if you do both, you can test one versus the other and see what one works best for you. The thing that's important to understand though, is don't just look at lead cost. And this is what I was referring to earlier. Let's say you have a lead ad that is giving you leads for like $2 a lead, and you've got landing page ads where that's $10 a lead. Well, if people are buying from the $10 a lead ad and they're not buying ever from the $2 a lead ad, then $2 a lead is more expensive than 10. It all comes down to the quality of leads and what they do once they become a lead. So make sure you're not just looking at the lead cost, but the return on ad spend. That's really the most important at the end of the day. So no matter what you do in terms of lead ads or landing page ads, bottom line is I recommend you guys test both and then track your lead quality and return on ad spend to see which one is best. not just your cost per lead. If you had a gun to my head and said you have to pick one, I would definitely pick landing page leads over lead ads. And if you're not sure how to do this or really what approach works best for your situation, that's something I work with clients on and something I could certainly help you with. But with that being said, I definitely recommend you guys test both, follow the data, find what works, scale it, and fix what doesn't work. And that can be a powerful combination. And as always, just a reminder, it's always important to point out that every business is unique. Results can vary. There's no guaranteed outcomes. So always keep that in mind. So my friends, episode 434 is in the books. Thank you so much for being here. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the top 3 mistakes I see a lot of Facebook advertisers make, whether they are experienced or new. So make sure and check that out. Until then, I hope you have a great week. Go Seahawks. Hopefully your football team wins as well, unless they're playing the Seahawks. And I'll talk to you on next week's episode. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Please remember to subscribe and share this with all your friends. For show notes, more tips, and to learn more about Phil, please visit philgrahamdigital.com/podcast.